Hiyo maneno haiwezi kujibu hapa. Uliza WhatsApp na kujibu. Acha niweke gari hapa nje. Lagos for your papa. Unanisha gari hapa. Niaje nafasi yako teleport wakuja hapo ndani. Meacha nafasi na watu wa kuanguka. Lagos, my God. Hamza ndio huyo. Wow! Ugly. Hey, Magli. Hey, that's my boy. Hey, huyu nani? Nani ameteleport hapa? Nani huyu? Angalia kwa jibu. Bado unaona ndio ndio kwa barabara. Nani? One, agree. Inabidi nitokea pale kwa Volvo ndio nisigonge watu. This guy anataka kunipatia mzigo damage tu ndio hata sijaanza safari. Mimi nangoja niangukie zaidi ya nini ya hii kampuni ya Volvo. Because due to the inconveniences caused, sije nikaangukia mtu hapo na mimi anibeza. Kwani mshaenda? Mbwani. Siwaoni? Kwani mko wapi? Ama mlishaanza safari? My people. Hakuna Hamza, huwezi nidanganya. Hamza, huwezi kuwa umefika. Umefika hii place inaitwa ulienda garage. Nilikuwa nashangaa huko ulifika lini?
Safi, unasema aje mtu? Nimeona folder ya CG802. Hiyo ndio tuna download peke yake. Ndio hiyo. Hiyo peke yake. Ndio hiyo mzee. Hakuna ingine, ni hiyo tu.
Haya. Kimrid. Rudi tuanze safari bana. Si huko garage ndio sasa. Kama tutakupata huko. Hey, you mana hapa mbele. Hamza nipate hapa. Nipate hapa. Siende jana. Wacha ngoja mbele niache nafasi hapo. Sawa. Basi hiyo ni inatosha. Acha niangalie kwa map. Hamza kwa hapa Kimrid. Kimrid ama na Makli tunaweza anza kwenda. Makli, we can start moving now. Ni nani Kimrid? Kimrid teleport urudi bana. Ama ni Kirimid? Kirimid. Kirimid. Teleport back ukuje tuanze safari bana.
Kwani imekataa? Yes, the other side. They are on the other side. It's on flat. Only GRDS.
Huyu kijana anapenda kwepo. Huyu kijana anapenda. Magli inakuaje? Mi huko ndio musi. Niko hapo Sultani sasa ndio nashuka. Ninaelekea mali. Haya, haina shida plaza. Hapa hapa kikweli. Hapa tunachukua kule hapa. Tunajua kuandika.
Kuna kudanganya hiyo. Watu weke bana AI 1 bana. Huyu nani amejaza hizi ona opposite road. Ala Yesu.
Zilifanya accident pale gari. Nimeanza kuona. We. Ako nimeanza Kirimid na again wa teleport. Engale go. Kirimid.
Mwanzo shida umeanza kuleta. Pia mlaza wewe.
Haya. Krimidi wewe uka Lagos, kuja Lagos Krimidi. Kuja Lagos. Teleport tena ukuje uanguke Lagos.
Kwa nini nini yangu haifanyi radio? 1 2.
Nini radio? Hata radio yangu. Acha niweke radio.
Angalia mbona audio yangu haifanyi radio?
Acha niweke radio lakini radio niweke hii LBC. LBC ndio wanapiganga story. Hiyo ndio iko sawa na YouTube. Nisikia wanasema nini LBC?
Yeah, and for all we know that it could be a reason why obesity is so prevalent in the Western world, and something I've learned recently about ghrelin, so I know that's going off piece slightly. Yeah, I just think that while we're looking at the whole situation to do with funding from the government for healthcare, really information for women's health just should be signposted to be available, whether it be on the NHS website or whether it be on your doctor's, GP's website. I'm just so surprised this afternoon listening to everyone talking that we just are not more aware of it, and I think that we should have.
We should be, and it's definitely surprised me as well, which is why I wanted to talk about it. Thank you very much, Yvonne, for your call, Yvonne in Solihull. That statistic I read out earlier on, that more heterosexual couples have HIV. This was a stat from 3 years ago, but I don't think things have changed much since then, that more heterosexual people have HIV than gay men. Or bisexual men. That's surprised a good number of you. Karen, as an example, that HIV stat hasn't been publicised enough. Yeah, you do wonder whether that morning after pill use, instead of contraception, if you see what I mean, that could lead to less safe sex. That would be a problem if it did. If you missed any of today's show, you can listen back on our free Global Player app or the new LBC app, where you can stay up to date with all the latest news and opinion. Put your news categories in the order you want, pause and rewind live radio, and listen to a range of podcasts. Coming up at 6 on LBC, it's Andrew Marr, but now it's time for Tom Sport.
Sure, thank you very much indeed. Afternoon, folks. Welcome to the show. At 4 o'clock.
Send me everywhere. I don't go to prison. Send me my back home. I can't go to prison. I can't.
More than 1,000 people caught working illegally have been deported, the government says, as raids on illegal working are stepped up. Is this an argument for or against digital ID cards? Also,
the budget is on the 26th of November and we will lay out our plans.
The Prime Minister cannot repeat the promises he made at the election and then again in the summer that he won't raise income tax at the budget. Are we being buttered up for a massive reverse ferret? And
he should never have been here in the first place. He should have been immediately deported as an illegal migrant.
Child sex offender and illegal migrant Hadush Kabatu is deported, taken out of the country against his will, the government says. But the final two fingers up to the nation was that he was given £500 of taxpayers' money to get on the plane. Should he have been paid to sling his hook?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 4 o'clock, more than 3/4 of Jamaica has no electricity after what's been described as a disaster of unprecedented catastrophe. Hurricane Melissa, the world's strongest storm of the year, brought winds of up to 185 miles per hour. Local government minister Desmond McKenzie gave an update from emergency services.
Most of the calls that we have gotten are distress calls. Persons trapped on roof. But you know, Jamaicans, in the middle of all of this, a baby was safely delivered under emergency conditions. So there is a Gilbert baby, a Melissa baby,
The UK has promised £2.5 million in emergency funding to support recovery efforts. LBC understands sex offender Hadush Kabatu was given £500 when he was forcibly deported back to Ethiopia. The asylum seeker was jailed after sexually assaulting a teenage girl while living in an asylum hotel in Essex. He was mistakenly released from prison last Friday and brought back into custody after a 2-day search. LBC's reporter reporter Fraser Knight has more details.
Kibatu was forcibly deported. He had threatened to disrupt the removal process and was paid £500 to essentially go quietly. He had been escorted by 5 bodyguards on the flight out of the UK last night. That a decision made operationally so that he wouldn't bring potentially legal challenges or the flight having to be cancelled.
An inquest into the deaths of 2 men during the Manchester synagogue attack earlier this month has been opened and adjourned. The coroner's court heard one victim, Adrian Dolby, suffered a single gunshot wound accidentally fired by armed police. Melvin Kravitz died after being stabbed by attacker Jihad al-Shami, who was later shot and killed by officers. Sir Keir Starmer has refused to rule out breaking his promise to raise taxes on working people. He was asked by the Tory leader Kenny Badenoch if he's still committed to the pledge made at the last election. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is due to reveal her plans next month. Women will no longer have to pay for the morning after pill in pharmacies across England. Emergency contraception was already free from most GPs and sexual health clinics, but cost up to £30 from chemists. In the city, a short time ago, FTSE 100 was trading up 52 points at 97.49. Pound was $1.32 and €1.30. LBC weather mostly dry and clear tonight. A few showers lingering in coastal areas, lows of -2. A chilly but bright start for most tomorrow, turning cloudy with increasing winds and outbreaks of rain moving into the west later, highs of 14 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Amelia Coles.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Tom Swarbrick.
Just on 4. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tom Swarbrick Drive on LBC. Hope you find you very well this wet and windy window. You know what I mean? Coming up.
Well, Mr. Speaker. What a fascinating answer. It is not the same answer that I received when I asked exactly the same question on the 9th of July.
The Prime Minister has chosen, seemingly, not to repeat the promises made in the manifesto and earlier this year not to raise income tax, the budget less than a month away. Is this a sign that those promises are actually dead? But
to infrastructure, life and livelihoods.
Cuba braces as Jamaica assesses the damage of one of the most destructive hurricanes in the last century ripping through the island. A country now, quotes, severely compromised, say officials. We'll bring you the latest.
And WhatsApp message now 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
Very good afternoon to you. This hour,
to find out her attacker was just freely walking the streets as a result of a terror, it set her back.
He's gone. Hadis Kabatu, the child sex offending illegal migrant who should never have been in this country in the first place, who was accidentally released from prison with his avocado tote bag and his apparent sudden lust for North London libraries, has now been booted out of the country. The end of this incredibly sorry and serious tale that has embarrassed the United Kingdom and obviously, most seriously, left a child victim in its trail. Provides a kicker, the final boot in the teeth. As he was dragged onto this plane, was given £500 to leave, we understand, surrounded by 5 blokes probably about my size. He was forced onto a plane and carted off, but we're told not before. Money was, for want of a better phrase, stuffed into his pockets. We're told that he was forcibly deported, that there were a team of 5 escorts accompanying him on the flight. He was not only facilitated return scheme, however, given Kabatu threatened to disrupt the removal, an operational decision, we're told, was taken to provide a discretionary £500 payment. This was taken as the alternative was a slower and more expensive process, which would have included detention, a new flight, and potentially, we understand, fighting subsequent legal claims. Cancelling the flight would have run into several thousands of pounds. This was an operational decision made by removal teams, not ministers, we understand. Basically, £500 to stop being an irritant to do his time. Now, if it's the case that the alternative is more expensive, more time-consuming, more convoluted, then 500 quid is cheap. But my question is, why is there an alternative? Why should an alternative apparently exist? There is no alternative. You will be handcuffed, dragged, tackled, wrestled onto that flight, whether you like it or not. There is a difference between paying people who are not forcibly removed from the country to go, the sort of the re-migration ideas that we see in these apparently awful fascistic backward nations like, I don't know, Denmark and Sweden, and the hush money that essentially what it is, that's given to offenders to basically play nice before they're forcibly removed. I actually have great sympathy for those removal officers who had to drag him onto the plane and who had to make the decision to give him the money. Otherwise, this convicted child sex offender would apparently be able to sue or cause delays because he and others cannot apparently be, forced physically, handcuffed physically, or whatever. What if he'd said, no, it's $1,000? Or 5 or 10, What if he'd used the leverage that he has, because his presence here is causing great strife to the current government, to say, I'm not going unless you give me 20 grand? This man, we're told, was not removed under the facilitated returns scheme. And that means he, and actually anybody else, in this kind of position, a foreign national offender, who's not returned under the facilitated returns scheme, that means they can receive a discretionary payment, often around £500 or less, to ensure that funds for immediate subsistence or travel upon arrival, medical needs, or temporary accommodation covered. This is typically recorded as a discretionary welfare or resettlement payment not tied to any formal scheme and is approved on a case-by-case basis by the returns logistics teams or returns preparation team. So we're deporting a foreign national sex offender, and everyone in that position could, in theory, be offered 500 quid to cover some dinner when the flight lands, or a hotel room if they arrive late back in the country that they're being sent home to. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why do we offer it? Why are we this generous to people like that? 03456060973 to basis research director of the Centre for Migration Control.
Very important.
I do feel sympathetic towards these people who are having to remove this man, because it seems like they were in a completely invidious position where they felt they had to do this.
Yeah, and I think in particular the reason they felt they had to do everything they could to expedite this individual removal was because, of course, he was a very high-profile individual that had just escaped from prison, causing them great embarrassment, with David Lammy coming out and making really strong promises that he would be deported by the end of the week. So I think that was definitely a part of this. They weren't prepared to sort of play the waiting game perhaps a bit longer. I think that the second point we need to take into consideration here is that actually this isn't a pure deportation. So the government are, for lack of a better word, lying saying he's been forcibly deported. As you pointed out in your piece at the top here, this is someone that has been induced. It is closer to a voluntary return, albeit not through the actual formal mechanism. It's closer to a voluntary return than it is actually a deportation. And the final point I think is, if we've got a convicted sex offender here who has been in the country just a matter of days before actually committing this crime, and we're not able to remove him from the country for putting up legal challenges without paying him a big sum of money, that suggests that there's something wrong with the system, that this individual would have that access to make those legal appeals.
That is the issue for me. 500 quid is in government spending terms, literally by the him. It doesn't matter a jot. It's a tiny sum of money. And if that sum of money gets this man out of here, which is what everyone wants, and means that there's no delay and no further cost incurred by having to hold him somewhere in the cell, get him on the flight, then fine. But why is there an alternative? There should be no alternative.
Well, especially when it comes to deportation, that should be the final decision. And this was an individual, of course, who was meant to be released into immigration enforcement pending his removal anyway. So the decision had already been taken that he would be removed. And even a matter of days ago, we were hearing that apparently he was sort of asking prison officers to be deported once he'd been thrown out of the prison as well. So something's clearly gone wrong here, and he's probably realised actually that there's an opportunity to cause a bit of hassle to maybe get his hands on this money. We don't know if other foreign national offenders who might be eligible for the scheme are looking at this situation and think
Wait, Grimid,
Robert, appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. Robert Bates is Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. This is part of the system. If you're not returning, we're facilitating returns. You might not be a foreign national offender, might be part of a voluntary removal, in which case, okay, we can debate the merits of that. But in this case, a foreign national offender, in this case a convicted child sex offender, can ask for 500 quid, and at the discretion of the people removing can receive 500 pounds for immediate subsistence or travel upon arrival, medical needs, or temporary accommodation covered. Why is that the offer that this country makes to these people? Why? Virginia's in Abbey World. Virginia.
Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, sir. You are genius. You are genius. I listened to your introduction. Everything you said is 10 over 10. Well done, sir. Ask me a question about the case of £500. What else could you have done? And for them to be able to remove him and never put a form something to be defense of the mind. And I like the way you bring your introduction, Tom. You are so good. I am so pleased with what you said. I say. They have to give him the money to go, the one arriving is back, and they come back in with them and do things.
Sorry, Virginia, this is a post-buttering up. Thank you for that. You agree that we need to give him some money because otherwise he wouldn't be able to fund his food?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, but why are we responsible for the payment of his subsistence once he's back home?
Because when people remove you know that the woman came every removal 2,000.
This is the difference between, sorry, just to interrupt, I'm so sorry. This is the difference between the voluntary facilitated rules and this. Now, you're right, there are some circumstances in which people are given money to voluntarily return. And I think it should depend whether or not that's a path we should go down more obviously and perhaps more generously. But in this case, you have a convicted child sex offender who's kicking up merry hell on his way out of here, for whom the escort officers are now giving him 500 to play nice. And you say that we should do that.
Now, when we get to the one way, if you don't give him the money, he will be the better. Yeah, like he said that the Islam we should resign if the man didn't go back.
Would you, Virginia, why am I and you responsible for the food shop that this guy has to do once he's landed back in Ethiopia? Why do we pay for it?
Because you're rich Africa.
Forget it. I literally don't care. If you cannot find your supermarket shop once you arrive back in Ethiopia, that's on you. I'm not paying for it.
Okay, sir. Do it to everybody that you deported. Do it to everybody that you deported. If everybody that you deport not a single penny, you can do it one side or the other.
You can. You absolutely can do it one side or the other, depending on the nature of the person that you are deporting. If the nature is a voluntary return, I think you can induce that voluntary return. This is a convicted sex offender, child sex offender.
I know that horrible crime, but you still have to give him something to remove.
If he says it's a grand, all right, keep it.
Yes, sir. You give that 500 pounds. Don't worry about it. You can't do it. Between transaction and what? There's never had a man on my face and get off the phone.
This is absolutely, I completely disagree with you. I'm loving it. I haven't even got my teeth in today. 03456060973. This 500 quid is neither here nor there in government spending terms. I really hate the notion that there is no other alternative for the blokes who are trying to remove this guy. He has to be given some money in order to get him on the plane. I hate that. There shouldn't be an alternative. You get on the plane. We'll handcuff you, we'll drag you on, it doesn't matter. You're going home. And no, we're not responsible for your supermarket shop afterwards. 03456060973. Forward on LBC 416.
LBC Travel, I'm Louise Knight, and there are long delays on the clockwise M25 already this afternoon, all the way from junction 23, that's Southlands, to 25 for the A10 and Enfield. One lane stays shut up at the Homesdale Tunnel. That's for repairs following that serious accident this morning. There's also struggling eastbound from Finchley to Edmonton as drivers avoid those M25 delays. Still on the M25, delays of 40 minutes delays being reported towards Dartford tunnels. The M26 is very slow eastbound towards the M20. It's after a lorry broke down earlier. As for the tube, there's no Metropolitan line from Baker Street to Aldgate. There are severe delays on the rest of the line. And on the train, Southern Thames Link and Gatwick Express aren't running from Gatwick Airport to Haywards Heath.
Tonight with Andrew Marr from 6 p.m.
Tonight I'm joined by the wife of the British journalist arrested by ISIS in San Francisco facing deportation after criticising Israel. I'll be talking to the archaeologist who's won damages from Steve Coogan, and after the Prime Minister challenged to repeat his promise not to raise income tax or VAT, refused to do so, we'll be asking, is there a big U-turn coming on tax? Join me at 6.
Tonight with Andrew Marr from 6 p.m. Listen on our free global player app or the new LBC app.
Amazon offers term-time working to their employees, like Anton, who's home to look after his daughters during their holidays. To him, this is the best sound in the world. Actually, maybe that's the best sound of all. Now that's term-time working, offered at Amazon. 10 weeks off guaranteed per year, mix of paid holiday and unpaid time off. Conditions apply.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC. Do you know your state pension? It's so quick to check online. When is your date of birth? Knowing your state pension age helps you think about your future. So check yours today. State pension age on gov.uk and simply enter your date of birth. State pension age. It's good to know.
Stay Sure. What is Stay Sure? Stay Sure is not just the UK's favourite travel insurance. Stay Sure is the confidence that comes with knowing that you're covered by the company with more 5-star reviews on Trustpilot than any other provider. A company that welcomes people all ages with pre-existing medical conditions for single or multiple trips. So stay sure with Stay Sure Travel Insurance. UK's favourite place to number of 5-star Trustpilot reviews. T's and C's and verifications at staysure.co.uk/reviews.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
With cybersecurity from BT, protect your small business and understand cybersecurity.
The time Tom Swarbrick here on LBC. Removed from the country. Ministers are delighted that they've been able to do that quite speedily. It's just on the way out. He demanded 500 quid and he was paid in by the officers who are removing him because people in his position can receive indiscretionary payment of around 500 quid in order that funds are present for immediate subsistence or travel upon arrival. So he lands back at the airport and he's got 500 quid to pay for a cab home from you for medical needs or temporary accommodation covered. So he needs a hotel because the cab journey is too expensive or too far at that time of night. And he's got a hotel. I don't get it. Well, let me rephrase. I get it because I understand that at times, in order to induce people to leave the country, you might have to offer them some money, and in some cases, what I don't understand is why there is an alternative of paying someone some money when they are a foreign national offender who's committed some very serious criminality. Why is there an alternative other than being handcuffed, dragged, kicking and screaming onto a plane, sat, forced to sit down, handcuffed to the armchair, except the generosity here is quite amazing. I think it's quite amazing. You can be a man in his position and you can still be entitled to receive at the discretion of the people involved, which makes you more inclined to kick off, if you're honest. You can receive 500 quid to help you buy a nice dinner. 03456060973. Kevin's in your corner. Kevin.
Agree with you totally. I should never be given any money at all. But I think the bigger problem here is people out legal aid or how to get out. Why these people are presenting it to try and keep them in the country to eventually cost us thousands between legal ways. It's a joke. The country is on the cards. Well, this is it. To get rid of him is cheap, but
well, Kevin, I think you're right. I think if it's a decision between 500 quid to get him out of here or thousands of pounds you're priced in to give him the 500 quid. But if he says I'm not going for £1,000 or 2 or 12 or 20 until you put £20,000 in my bank account, I'm not leaving. What happens? Do they just drag him onto the plane? In which case, if they just drag him onto the plane, do it regardless of any money he might want in his bank account.
Yeah, my point is, he's going to turn around to whoever these people are, these people, these people, and pays to keep the business.
Who are lining up to earn some money to represent you, whatever that person is, how it works, I guess.
But for in this situation, you know, he came into the probably came illegally. It's now what you keep to do then is even worse. So why there should be a law.
It's a decent chunk of change, very good on a night out, etc. But it's not going to get you very far. Can I just bring you some detail? A very good charming production team have done some research on what we used to call work. 500 British pounds is 100,000. These numbers. 100,500 pounds. So sound pretty returning.
300,000, 34, 971,000 tests.
Where's that?
That 100 grand, basically, Ethiopian birr, it's 100 grand. The cost of living of a decent life and living income for a typical family in rural areas is 16,500 birr a month. So he's got several months worth of funding to go and live in Ethiopia. Again, I understand the point about paying the 500 quid to get him out of it. What I don't understand is why there is an alternative to no, we're going to take you on the plane and you can't ask for money and we're not going to give you money. Jude's in a corner watch. Jude. Your thoughts, Jude?
Gari yangu inaitwa miguu. Yaani hata sijavuka no. Sijavuka ya babu.
I've been here since 6 years. I don't believe that people should just come in and then commit such crimes and then they get benefits. I was listening to the add-ups that you've been doing since. At least it's going to serve him for more than 2 months. If he goes to Ethiopia, he could easily get assistance from anybody, from family and friends in Africa. Family and friends could assist. It's not like in the UK where people pay a lot of bills and then you don't have extra to assist people. I don't think they should be given tax benefit to have £500 anyway.
So I get this from Ross, Jude.
Yes.
Is there any evidence that he asked for the money? I think it's rather more likely it is a standard policy to offer it, and he accepted, obviously. Good work on the rage bait hour, though, says Ross. Well, Ross, I find that even more enraging. The standard policy is in theory, and it is part of the policy here, that if you're not removed under the facilitated return scheme, you can receive a discretionary payment of around £500 or less.
That's correct, yeah.
Why? Why is this an offer?
From what I heard from you guys on the radio is that I think if you to be honest, and they don't have the right to give it to you, they might as well refuse it and say, no, we're not going to give it to you. From what I heard from the radio about high security enforcement officer, when that money, so if you can, if it's not in a position to force itself out of the aircraft, then definitely take it away.
Yes, I agree. What is the point of sending in 5 people if those 5 people are not there to ensure the other security from this man? But that security for those other people apparently might have to be induced through 500 quid given to the bloke in order to calm him down. What's the incentive there? Oh, God. Yes, I am going to kick off. And thanks for the phone. It's now 1,500, otherwise I'm really going to kick off. I don't see the point of it. Jude, thank you. John.
Hi there, good evening. I think you've
pretty much just touched on what I was going to say then. I think this is common practice of exports they had, the work that's like they've done. We were never told what they did. Go from 2 to 5. But something I want your attention to is there are people going on holiday, like on this like to Jamaica, that is deportee, and say about the holiday makers who don't have a clue what they've done. And I think almost like the money's gone right to people's cars. You have procedures for how they report is onto the plane. I don't agree with the money, but I think with all our firing out control costs, it's a drop in the ocean compared to what it would cost in legal fees and potentially being extra years.
I think. So, John, have you been on a plane? You've been cabin crew when there are people being deported with security?
Yeah,
oh, really? And what tends to be the sort of the atmosphere in the cabin as people are filing onto the plane past someone with security around them?
They're usually sat on the last row, so they're never walking past them. We had different procedures, so the crew would stand away and then the escorts would lead them to the seat and get them all settled down. But they get limited with what they do, like they might start picking out, and the rules change that. I don't think the times I've done it, they've been used to be able to use the spit hoods, for example. But
oh, really? But you can use those things.
Pardon?
They could use those things if
no,
whatever.
I don't. They could put like a blanket nearby to stop it, but they want their job as easy as possible, so they want to keep them as calm.
Which you can understand, which is why, again, I feel quite sorry for the people who were escorting this bloke. If it is the case that it took 500 quid to calm this guy down in order to get on the plane, fine. But why is it an opportunity for this person to be paid any money, calm or not? That's why you have 6'4" broad-shouldered blokes escorting them, in order to make sure that they are restrained into a form of to be becalmed. No? I mean, I realise that's not ideal. But I find the idea of an alternative, of being offered cash, perplexing and difficult. John, thank you for that. As David says here, and this is the long and short of it, Tom, my VAT payment was given to an illegal immigrant who committed a sex offence. Yeah. What do we do about it? We just sort of go, okay, fine. It's better than the alternative being he kicks off, we have to take him off the plane, we have to get a new flight, we have to blah, 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 blah. But that's not what this money is for, by the way. The government website says these funds are for immediate subsistence or travel upon arrival, medical needs or temporary accommodation being covered. It's not calm down cash. It's supermarket shop afterwards. And we definitely shouldn't be doing that. 03456060973. Tom Swarbrick here, coming up.
We will build a stronger economy, we will cut NHS waiting list and deliver a better future for our country.
The Prime Minister chooses, seemingly, not to repeat the promises made in the manifesto and earlier this year, not to raise a protest. The budget is less than a month away. Is this a sign that those promises made to you at the last election are dead?
What?
We'll get to the details in a moment. 4:31 news headlines now. Amelia Cole.
25 people have been killed in Haiti, and more than 3/4 of Jamaica has no electricity following Hurricane Melissa. Winds are still in excess of 100 miles per hour as the storm heads towards Cuba. Downing Street has confirmed a sex offender, Hadish Kabati, was given £500 after threatening to disrupt his deportation flight. The Ethiopian national was mistakenly released from prison on Friday, but has now left the country. And a man who arrived in the UK on a small boat has been jailed for at least 25 years for murdering a customer in a bank at random. Govinda Singh Johal was attacked with a kitchen knife at a Lloyd's branch in Derby in May. LBC weather, sunshine and showers for many, some heavy downpours further north with strong winds, a high of 14 degrees.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. House builders have warned that government's budget watchdog ministers will not hit their target to build 1.5 million homes by the end of the decade. It's a further blow to Rachel Reeves. Let's turn to Steve Turner, Executive Director of the Home Builders Federation.
Period for the next 5 years. Are we feeling towards ambitious? Still very difficult to have to
Ferrari at breakfast.
With cybersecurity from BT, security solutions built for businesses.
Back tomorrow morning from 7. LBC.
I'm telling you, those Texans, that's how.
Cut spending, less waste, results.
Move north, get more for your money until winter hits you usually on the van.
Up to 9.13% annual return. We all agree that's strong.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Cufflink, auto invest property backed from £500. Visit cufflink.com. That's KUFLINK. Register your interest today. Your capital is at risk. Tax rules apply to advisors and may be subject to change. Cufflink is authorised and regulated by the FCA.
At TfL, we're making tube journeys faster in the future with signalling improvements on the Circle, District, Hammersmith City and Metropolitan lines. And there's also the Elizabeth line, giving you fast journeys across central London. That is how we're making greener travel brighter for everyone. Search TfL Improvement. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters. Elizabeth line is fast compared to other TfL lanes, greener than total estimated petrol and diesel car emissions.
At Lidl, there's always more to value, like saving £28 on this week's Big Shop when you switch to Lidl Plus from Tesco Club Card. See the shop at lidl.co.uk/save. Lidl, more to value. 18 plus GB only. Offer ends 5th of the 11th, 25. Price check 20. Pro rata size. Tesco prices and other products. Excludes multi-buy discounts apply. Unexpected site fee increases, and that was before the dramatic loss in value. If you bought a home on Holiday Park in the UK, you may have been misled. Holiday Park and iCentre.co.uk could help you receive thousands in compensation. Text ASSIST to 78900. That's ASSIST to 78900.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
With cybersecurity from BT, security solutions built for businesses.
4:34 the time, and we're cannot into cruise in just a few moments. First,
Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
The budget is on the 26th of November, and we will lay out our plans.
So Keir Starmer has, to use the journalist colloquialism, opened the door to raising income tax in what would be a very explicit breach of Labour's manifesto. The Prime Minister refused to repeat the party's commitment not to raise VAT, national insurance or income tax that was made both at the last election and at Rachel Reeves' previous budget and the comments he made in the summer this year. So is it income tax rise coming? Andrew Knight is a former Conservative MP and Treasury Minister. Thank you very much indeed for coming on. You will know better than most, Angela. Politicians tend to try to be very, very careful with their words and very, very careful not to box themselves in. Do you think this is Keir Starmer trying to unbox his party from the promise they made in the election?
I think it could be, yes. I mean, clearly they've got themselves into a right problem with the budget in all sorts of different ways. They've allowed speculation to get out of control in so many areas. We've now got what seems to be an almost completely frozen housing market, for example. But also because they have done what they needed to do in cutting back on social security, on sorting some things out on public sector pensions, on getting their energy policy into a better and more sensible place. They really have got a big financial problem. In my view, is that they should look far more about what they spend and how they spend, rather than just whack up taxes. But if they're not going to do that, then I think we've all got to be pretty prepared for something. And tinkering, do a bit more on inheritance tax, do a bit more on other areas, isn't getting people the money that they're spending.
So here's the argument I reckon is going around the Treasury at the moment, or at least being circulated among ministerial websites, Angela, which is, if you're going to need to have lots of money to spend on lots of things because cutting spending is too difficult, you're going to have to pull some major tax levers. Stick another penny or 2p on income tax and you raise huge sums of money. And the argument to the public will be, look, sorry we promised you this, but we can't do it because the mess left by the last government was actually greater than we thought. So we're going to put 2p on income tax or whatever it might be, and then the Labour government will need to work night and day to show people the change that was possible by the money created from that tax increase.
which most people pay, and that is income tax. As to whether they'll do that or not, I really don't know. And I do say again that the responsible thing to do is to get some changes on the spending side and not just on the taxation side. And quite frankly, this business that we didn't know the details and all that sort of thing, we were in opposition, yada, 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 that actually doesn't stack up properly either. Because I think what most people do not know, and should know, is that when you're coming up to a general election, then those who are in leadership shadow are allowed very considerable access. And to pretend that they didn't know numbers is simply not correct.
The last Conservative budget publicly available to everybody.
And the Office of Budget Responsibility has been monitoring all governments for now some considerable period of time. So it doesn't really, I don't think it's going to watch. I don't think sort of playing the black hole. I mean, the black hole argument really worked that well. They tried it last year. It certainly did not work to work again. We have got some problems. They are spending too much money. We haven't got an economy that's shifting. We've got higher employment costs, and that has had a consequence on employment itself. So there's a whole series of things which, like it or not, are results of either actions that have been taken on the spending side or actions that have been taken on the tax side, which are collectively put together to cause the problem that we have at the moment. So we will see what happens, but I do think, in answer to your first question, has Keir Starmer chosen his words advisedly and so opened the door to start a conversation of it may be rather nastier than you think? And the answer to that question is yes, he has.
Angela Knight, former Conservative MP and Treasury Minister, thank you very much indeed for your time. How would you feel if this comes down the line in November that they had to whack up an income tax? 03456060973. They would put up income tax despite promising that they weren't going to do it on multiple occasions. Circumstances change, so you change your mind, etc., etc. Would that be the end of the Keir Starmer Labour project? If he literally goes against this last election, because let's be honest, he's lifted national insurance. It's affordable, but he promised not to increase national insurance, and it's increased. So might as well go for income tax, make a lot of money coming into the Treasury, and then see if you can spend it in a way that shows some growth in the economy and change the people's can feel. And you have to do it now, because to do it next year, the next budget, too bad. You won't get to see the effects of it. 03456060973. Let's come back to your calls on this 500 quid. Karen is a new caller in-house. I can.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. Your thoughts on this £500 to this convicted child sex offender in illegal migrant?
I thought about this. Look, giving £500 to encourage voluntary return raises an important question. Not just about the cost effectiveness, but about the fairness and humanity. Are we offering a dignity and support, or are we simply trying to pay off people to disappear?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think in this country, the rubric around why this person was offered £500, or in some cases less, is because it is to ensure that someone has funds for immediate subsistence or travel upon arrival, medical needs, or temporary accommodation covered.
Yes, it's now a waste of tax money. Look at the general approach. Now we move to this kind of very complex, complicated, no-result situations, like 1 in, 1 out. You send them back to France and then come back to the UK again. So it opens a big dark hole, I would say. I don't know how far we are.
Can appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. 03456060973. Maria's in Greenford. Maria.
I do have connections with immigration. So normal procedure. And to be honest, he could have been given a lot more money, say up to about 1,000. Just hear me out. Because the thing is, if he's going on a commercial flight and he kicks off and maybe he self-harms or he's violent, you can't get him onto that flight. So it means that the removal is for
Wacha kunyesha kama ni
because I think what you're saying makes complete sense, but we are told by very senior sources that he was not on the facilitated return scheme. Why
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
It's important because if you're on the facilitated return scheme, there are funds that can be directed your way for various different things. Kind of.
Yeah. Okay. Right. That's right. But can I just interrupt you there? If you commit a crime and you're a foreign national and you're in prison, yeah, and you say to the government, no, I want to go back to my country early, which is not under facilitated return, they will look at it. They'll make a discretionary payment so that you will go on your way because you are willing to go voluntarily.
As a foreign national offender, you've told your prison governor they can't get out of here, and your time spent, 30% of your sentence is done. Why on earth would the British taxpayer offer you some money to do something you say you're willing to do?
Because a lot of these, apart from some of the criminals, income tax and NI in this country. I know. But in terms of the cost, I know, but in terms of the cost, that's the cheapest option. You don't want them stuck in a detention centre.
I agree, but in your example, this person has said that they want to go. It's a voluntary return. And again, I come back to the point that because of the fact he wasn't on the facilitated return scheme, he was on a different scheme, he was, not this. That means, and I'm reading from the government website, he can receive a discretionary payment, often around £500 or less, to ensure, and again, it gives you very clear the categories that this money is meant to be there for. Funds for immediate subsistence, food, or travel upon arrival, cab home, medical needs, whatever, or temporary accommodation covered, hotel. Why are we doing this as a country? Why is that?
Because if he got on the plane and he decided, right, actually I've changed my mind, then what? At least the £500, yes, it's a silencer and that's the price we have to pay. If you want this person out of the country, that's what you've got to do.
But that's what the 5 big guys, tough guys, strong guys are around.
No, because no, they cannot sit on the person and make them get on the plane. That's a breach of their human rights.
There we have it. No. The state has demanded that you leave the country under the provisions that the state has passed through law to allow them to say that you need to leave the country. There are 5 people trained, big, strong, tough guys, ready to take it. They take you out. Don't care. Sorry. There is no leverage to be gained by being the person removed on the plane so that you can charge British taxpayers money to see you calm down on the plane. That's not how that should work. I'm sorry. 0345, thank you very much. 034560600973. Tom Swarbrick here, coming up.
This resulted in significant and catastrophic flooding, not only in Jamaica, but also across parts of southern Haiti and the southern Dominican Republic and southeastern Cuba as well.
Cuba braces for impact as Jamaica assesses the damage of one of the most destructive hurricanes in the last centuries. It ripped through the island. The country now severely compromised, says officials. We'll bring you the details. 4:47 the time.
LBC Travel, I'm J-Louise Knight, and there are long delays. 25 this afternoon from 23 for Southlands to junction 25 for the A10 and Enfield. It's after a serious accident this morning, not long after the Homesdale Tunnel. One lane is still closed there for those repairs, and that lane's likely staying in place overnight tonight. Now, because of drivers avoiding that, the North Circular is solid eastbound all the way from Finchley to Edmonton. Elsewhere on the M25, anti-clockwise at slow patches from junction 9 at Leatherhead to Gosford junction 6. The M26 is improving eastbound off of the M20 where a lorry broke down earlier, though. And on the tube, there's no Metropolitan line from Baker Street to Woodgate, and there are severe delays on the rest of the line.
Kirimini ni nini unachanganyikiwa?
Switch up subscriptions with Netflix, Discover Plus, and loads more. All powered by our ultra-reliable full fiber.
Pita, Mark.
Switch to our award-winning bundles today.
New customers, 62% UK availability, terms apply.
Call Tom Swarbrick 0345 6060 973 LBC.
Global is the official audio
Sahi hata nasikia akieleza
Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games from everyone at Global.
LBC Radio X.
Capital Extra.
Classic FM.
Smooth Radio.
Gold Radio.
We'd like to wish all Team GB athletes good luck at the Milano Cortina 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Make sure you've downloaded Global Player.
It's where you can stay up to date with all the sports news
And home to our fantastic podcast, The Sports Agents. Global is the official audio and outdoor partner of Team GB and Paralympics GB.
this Wednesday. The £12 million
hapo
lotto.
mbele kuna kona ya kulaliwa kwa mlalia
Lotto from the National Lottery. It could be you.
na nimealamia kona iko hapo ya kulalia unalalia mpaka unafika
Cut spending, less waste, more sense.
Move north, get more people.
Maglina unatuna flow kwa mbele
Up to 9.13% annual return. We all agree that's strong.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore.
Cufflink, or to invest £20 to £500. Visit cufflink.com. That's Kuflink. Register your interest today. Your capital is at risk. Tax rules apply to ISAs and may be subject to change. Cufflink is authorised and regulated by the FCA.
If you bought a home on a holiday park in the UK, what you thought you were getting may not be what you ended up with. From unexpected site fee increases, running costs, a huge depreciation in value, many US bills may have been missold. If you think this might be you, Holiday Park advicecentre.co.uk could help you receive the compensation you're entitled to. Text ASSIST to 78900 to find out more. That's ASSIST to 78900.
This Waitrose Wine Rubber Week find your perfect match with 4 for 3 on wine and fizz. Meet our smooth Argentinian Catina Malbec that can handle the rich flavours of roast beef, or the elegant #1 Chablis, effortlessly charming with a cheese board. Perhaps your type is more bubbly, like our Cab de Turbine from d'Alsace, an unforgettable fling for any canapé. Find your perfect wine pairing at Waitrose, the home of food lovers. Select stores wine subject to VAT, excludes Scotland box wines and bottles price £6 or under and £100 or over.
Tom Swarbrick on LBC.
With cybersecurity from BT, protecting businesses of all sizes against cyber threats.
Not a spare line into the building this afternoon on LBC as Susan gently but correctly unites the subject of Hadush Kabati paying £500 to leave the country on that plane and the suggestion of the Prime Minister in his promise about not increasing income tax might not see out the year. Tom, good evening. Yes, of course, increased income tax.
Narudi.
To live already, but as long as we're paying criminals money to leave the country and not sorting out the huge abuse of benefits, that's fine. Keep pushing the working people of this country. No wonder everyone's leaving in their droves, and hope this government gets kicked out in the next election, says Susan. Lucas is a new caller in Red Hill. Lucas.
Hi. I had a very simple idea. So instead of giving money to criminals, I would suggest you give them a sedative injection so they will keep calm on the plane. And I'm talking about very extreme situations when there was a rapist and he did everybody wrong, and yeah, we need to deal with them somehow. So we're going to pay a doctor like £500 to make sure to check if the injection is going to be make it sleep.
And everybody listening now, Lucas, who's shouting at the radio, but they don't want to be injected and can't forcibly inject people. That's against their rights.
I'm talking about very
if you want to say that. So we have had, down trees, down poles, some flooding, some infrastructure challenges. But relative to the western part of the country, where the hurricane made landfall and moved across the island, things are, that side of the country, things are, pretty bad, pretty catastrophic.
What have you heard about what's happened on the West of Jamaica?
Well, certainly the assessments are just being done, but communities badly ravaged, infrastructure down, roofs gone, flooding, there was no utilities, hard to communicate as well, landslides, just anything you want to imagine with this kind of rain, snowstorm, hurricane passing through, it's there.
Is it the case, based on your studies, Professor, that events like this are becoming more likely in your part of the world?
Absolutely. I think that's what the science has been saying. Almost the science that we have been doing, and certainly the science that has been picked up in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Extreme events, are becoming more and more common. The way I would want to put it, in the simplest way to communicate it, the unprecedented is becoming inescapable. Just last year, we had a hurricane came, skirted us, and really caused damage in the very same place where this hurricane made landfall. Here it is, we're in the same kind of situation. And it's what the scientists is saying. Extreme events, are happening more and more. The unprecedented is becoming inescapable. We know how to react, how we respond globally.
Well, I hope you keep safe, Michael. I hope your loved ones keep safe. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. Professor Michael Taylor, Professor at the University of the West Indies, specialising in Caribbean climate science. From Kingston, Jamaica. 4:56 the time. Mark's in Brighton. Mark. I gather this was your world. You used to be in the world of deportations, is that right?
After you need a
what kind of people were you sending back?
Lots of people were sended from prison, and then when the prison ended,
and so that was done on commercial flights?
Commercial flights, on holders, on
So does this case strike you as different, unique, or run of the mill?
Detainees were given pocket money. There was a shop in the detention centres, and they were given money to buy sweets, cigarettes, and whatnot. Again, that was funded by the taxpayer. And then with the deportations, this £500 fee to return, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yes, it has, but under the what's called facilitated return scheme.
6,000 kilometers. But also, if someone's not willing to go, then they can restart it.
So you've got someone really kicking off, and one of you blokes says, all right, calm down. Here's 500 quid. If you find it can be
as simple as that. If you're trying to get them away, then yes. So obviously you've got to remember, if they're coming out of prison, they then get all their belongings. I've known someone to take all their shoes back, all their trainers. I mean, the cost of their baggage is more than the tickets. So the fees involved.
And if they, and I think people understand that, but it is still most people's interest for people to leave, so they're going to fund the cost of your plane ticket, their plane ticket, their room, so that's fine. What I just have an in-principle issue with is the notion that someone who is not deported under the facilitated return scheme can nevertheless receive a discretionary payment that funds food for them on arrival, travel for them on arrival, temporary accommodation on arrival. Why? Even if they're relaxed, they can still get this discretionary payment. Why? Why are we paying for the hotel stay of someone who's now removed from the country, perfectly calmly removed from the country, happy to go back, chatting to you on the flight over?
Wewe kwani hamjafika? Mimi naona nimebakisha 25 kilometers. Sina lala nazo hivi time now.
Well, I mean, yes, you can. You can point to lots of examples. You can point to huge, astronomical sums of money that have been spent incredibly poorly. Look at that Home Office report about Seago hotels this week. But this is crazy to me. You're not paying them to be calm, because as Mark described, a calm deportee can still get access to this money that helps them with cab fare home when they land. Madness. Absolute madness. Thank you very much indeed. You're listening to Tom Swarbrick on LBC. In the next 60 minutes...
Now services available to everyone nationwide.
It's the biggest change to sexual health services since the 60s. Women can now get the morning after pill for free in pharmacies across England. Also,
there are some significant barriers which still remain that the government has to tackle.
House builders say the government will miss its target to build 1.5 million homes in England by the next election.
We are at Gombe.
Britain building.
And if individuals are able to stop illegal working, what is more likely to do is to impinge upon the law-abiding majority.
Good news, more than 1,000 people caught working illegally have been deported, the government says, as raids on illegal working are stepped up. After the news of 5, is this an argument for or an argument against digital ID?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 5 o'clock, officials in Jamaica say it's too soon to know if anyone has died on the island as a result of Hurricane Melissa. More than 3/4 of the country has no electricity, and Information Minister Dana Dixon says communication systems are down.
They are getting assistance from Starlink to use satellite technology to assist many of our individuals and our companies to get back online. I know so many people have said they cannot reach their families in Western Jamaica. As you would imagine, a Category 5 hurricane is catastrophic, and so it would have left significant damage, and so that's why we're not getting communication.
The world's strongest storm of the year is continuing to produce in excess of 100 miles per hour as it passes through Cuba. The UK is providing